oil industry. I mean, if you look at it now, I can go to New York, it was just about $400 from London. But to go to Accra from Lome, you pay $600. So I just want to say that, so some of you that know what is happening, you can have a rethink. In terms of port charges, it is currently more expensive to load a domestic cargo of petroleum products from Dangote Refinery, as customers pay both at the loading point and also at the discharge point. But when they load from Lome that competes with us, they pay only at the port of discharge. This is simply unfair and it is unsustainable. Then came the challenge of selling the refined products. Unlike Europe, which has adopted harmonized fuel specifications, Africa remains fragmented. Every country has its own fuel specification standard. The fuel we produce for Nigeria cannot be sold in Cameroon or Ghana or Togo, even though we all drive the same vehicles. The lack of harmonization benefits no one except, of course, international traders who thrive on arbitrage. For local refiners like us, it fragments the market and imposes unnecessary inefficiencies. To give one example, the diesel cloud for Nigeria is 4 degrees. Without going into technical details, this means that the diesel should work at a temperature of 4 degrees centigrade. Achieving this comes at a cost to us and limits the types of crude we could actually process. But how many places in Nigeria experience temperatures of 4 degrees? Other countries have a more reasonable range of 7% to 12% degrees. 7 to 12% degrees. This is low-hanging fruits which could be addressed by the regulators. Any regional pricing framework must address this wide variability in standards. And to make matters worse, we are now facing increasingly dumping of cheap, often toxic petroleum products, some of which are blended to substandard levels that will never be allowed in Europe or North America. Due to the price caps on the Russian petroleum products, discounted petroleum products produced in Russia or with discounted Russian crude find their way to Africa, severely undercutting our local production, which is based on full crude pricing. This has created an unlevel playing field. In most African countries, petrol and diesel are sold for about $1 net of taxes. In Nigeria, due to this unfair competition, this price is just about 60 cents, even cheaper than Saudi Arabia, which produces and refines its own oil. This is due to the fact that we are having to match dumping. To remain viable, we urge the governments across Africa to take deliberate steps, as the US, Canada, and EU have done, to protect domestic producers from unfair competition. Nigeria First policy, announced by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should apply to the petroleum product sector and all other sectors. Contextual challenges. Let me speak to the third and perhaps the most complex category of contextual challenges. Beyond infrastructural deficit, the most formidable challenge we faced was entrenched in rent-seeking within the petroleum value chain across many African countries. This sector has historically been a major avenue for corruption and rent-seeking, or rent extraction, really. When you build a refinery and disrupt that system, you are not just innovating, you are actually threatening powerful interests that will seriously fight back aggressively. Another major barrier is the offshore Lome floating market, a uniquely African phenomenon. International traders maintain a floating storage of about 2 million tons of petroleum products just offshore Lome. These were being sold at inflated prices, given the lack of local refining capacity. Immediately, the Dangote Refinery became operational. They decided to crash prices. But make no mistake, those who profit from this system will do everything they can to prevent other refineries from emerging. The whole essence of Lome is to ensure that no refinery operates in sub-Saharan Africa. In fact, I don't see any new major refining project succeeding with the offshore Lome market existing. The obstacle must be dismantled through policy alignment, regional cooperation, and above all, strong political will. Without political support, there is no way for any new large refinery to be built in our lifetime. What I want to say is that if that support is not there, we will not. In fact, the entire people who are here with us, none of us will see a new refinery being built in our lifetime. Opportunities ahead. And yet, despite these challenges, the opportunity is massive. When we entered into cement sector, Nigeria had a production capacity of less than 2 million tons per annum and was entirely reliant on imports of up to 2007. Nigeria actually was the second largest importer in the world after the United States of America. Today, thanks to our visionary investment, determined execution, and government support, we have over 52 million tons of capacity. That's just Dangote alone, without Bua, without Lafarge, without Mangal, across Africa, and will be at 60 million tons capacity by mid of next year. We are now net exporters of cement in Nigeria and other countries, and we are targeting an export of $500 million of cement and clinker by the year 2027. This is the same happening in petroleum refining. Today, Nigeria has actually become a net exporter of refined products. Actually, before I came on the podium, I asked my people how many tons we actually exported of PMS. In the last, from June beginning to date, we have exported about 1 million tons of PMS. This last, 50 days. We have now polypropylene. By the time at our full production, Nigeria can only consume 30% of our own consumption. And we did the same with urea. And urea, we're actually, producing now 3 million tons. Indorama producing 3 million tons. So really, for you to know, Nigeria is actually catching up, is going to beat Egypt in the next 16 months. And will be the biggest exporter of urea in Africa. This is a historic turnaround. And with our LPG production of 2,500 tons per day, we are working to encourage more homes to increase the LPG consumption or utilization. And we are just getting started. Very soon, the refinery will be listed to give all Nigerians the opportunity to become shareholders. We are open to partnerships with African governments, private investors, and regional institutions. Our vision is simple but ambitious. Africa should refine all the petroleum products it consumes right here on the soil of Africa. Closing. Before I conclude, let me take this opportunity to address concerns around monopoly and dominance. The reality is that for too many people who have both the means and the opportunity to contribute meaningfully to our nation's growth, choose instead to criticize from the sidelines while investing their wealth abroad, adding little to Nigeria's real economy or Africa's economy. We have chosen to bet on Nigeria, and we will continue to do so. So we should not allow dumping to destroy our manufacturing base like what it did in so many other industries like textiles and co. Others should be encouraged to build refineries if they are serious. I think encouraging other people to build refineries is the job of the NNDPRA and also the government. So, Engineer Farouk, I will rely on your leadership to make sure we encourage those people who have collected licenses that are not using. And I believe anybody who collected these licenses from you, either you cancel them or you put a penalty on yearly basis so that they will return the license or they will build those refineries. In conclusion, the road to industrial self-reliance is not easy. It is full of obstacles, technical, financial, commercial, and political. But the reward are even greater: jobs, value retention, and economic transformation.
This is where we draw the curtain on today's edition.
Welcome to the stage where dreams ignite. Gift unravels here to shine a light. Entrepreneurs and talent that inspire. Trailblazers who reach higher and higher. Give them